The question you're probably asking yourself is the same question we asked ourselves when we started running remote sprints back in 2017. Will this work? My name is Jay Malone. I'm the principal facilitator and founder of New Haircut. In this video, I'd like to talk with you about what it was like for us to experience remote sprints and shifting a lot of our work from in-person sprints to remote sprints. So we discovered sprints in 2015, and for the first year or so, we ran them in person, pretty much by the book. But along the way, we had ideas about what it would look like to do these things when all the team couldn't be in the same space. Because we had been working and supporting distributed teams that were spread all over the world. And sometimes it didn't make sense to get people on planes and wait for their schedules to clear up so that we could be in the same physical space to run a sprint. So we were really curious about it, but we were also really nervous because we knew what happened in the room. We knew that people were in a space together. They were either laughing together, crying together, upset with one another. And as a facilitator, we could sense that. We could get the vibe and the feedback from those people and step in and make sure that the conversation was moving forward. We were really nervous about what that would look like and feel like if we weren't all in the same space. How would we get people to show up? How would we show up? How would we hold presence in the room? How would we make sure that everybody understood what we were doing? How would we share information so that other people could look at it and build ideas on top of that? These are all really important questions. In 2017, the issue was forced upon us. Rosetta Stone was one of our clients, and their key stakeholders would be distributed for an upcoming workshop that we were about to run. We didn't find out about it until the last second, and we had to shift one of our in-person design thinking workshops to run remotely and online. We were really nervous about what that was going to look like and feel like. Luckily, we were able to take that workshop and bring it into one of the online collaboration tools that we used at the time. And we were actually really surprised with what we learned. The 6-hour workshop that we had designed to run in person actually only took 4 hours when we ran it remotely. There were also these awkward and tense parts of the conversation, and we saw during the remote workshop that people leaned further into the conversation. Just that safety that they were in their own space, their own physical space, they felt more comfortable sharing big, bold, challenging ideas. That for us opened the door, and since then we've been iterating and experimenting with remote workshops and remote sprints ever since. After Rosetta Stone, we had more groups reaching out to us. In this picture, you're seeing a sprint that we ran with the team at Liquid Space. They offer flexible office space to their customers, so they wanted to dog food the process of what it would be like to work and operate remotely and distributed. So we ran our full 4-week innovation sprint completely online and remotely with this team, and it was a great success. But we were still really nervous and we were learning along the way. I mean, even look at my face in this picture. I look upset, but actually I'm just really intently thinking about the conversation that we're on. So we had a lot to learn about how to set up the space and get people to engage, get people to lean into the conversation. Because in an in-person sprint, you can design the space as you want it, where you want people to stand and sit and do different activities, where you want people to gather to have a conversation. You can also see everybody in one shot, and you can get a sense of who's doing the work, who's confused, who's excited, who has a question for you, who's kind of mentally checked out. And as you shift to remote and online sprints and workshops, that visual feedback becomes different. Now you have to operate from video calls and looking at people operate within these canvases. So inside New Haircut, the transition from in-person to remote has happened over the course of a few years. It certainly hasn't happened overnight, and we still appreciate and look for opportunities to run in-person sprints and workshops whenever possible. That's still really important. In that journey, we've thought a lot about the things that we were nervous about losing. Sprints require several people to come together and share ideas, so we were worried that when we shifted to remote that connection between the team members would be lost. We're also worried about being able to organize and share enough context so that people understood the conversation and what we were trying to accomplish during the sprints. And me, myself, as a facilitator, when I'm just another talking head in a Zoom call, will I be able to establish presence? And without that presence, will I lose the engagement and the passion of the team? And lastly, thinking about time. When you do shift to remote, things do take longer, and there are more opportunities for technology to get in the way. So you do have to slow down. You do have to allow for more breaks. But we're already working under tight timelines. So will there be enough time to run our sprints if we do them remotely? There's also some interesting things that we're excited to gain by moving to remote. So just removing the hassle of trying to schedule people's calendars, because getting people in airports, on planes, and with their hotel booked takes a lot of time and coordination. But with remote, it's just a matter of finding some time on the calendar and then scheduling your calls and getting people into the space. We also were excited to not have to worry about booking space and food and bringing in all these physical supplies, which takes time and budget. The really interesting thing as we've experimented with remote sprints, what we've actually seen and what's inspired us the most is that the connection, the context, the presence, the engagement, the time, we've actually won all of that back in our remote sprints. But it takes a lot of planning. As a facilitator, it takes real intention and design to make sure that you can continue to have all those things in your remote sessions. This has been a journey for us. We've learned a ton. We're inspired by what we've learned along the way, and we know that remote sprints can work. I'm excited to share with you what I've learned. If you're interested and excited about remote sprints, get in touch with us. We'd love to support your upcoming remote design sprint.